So here we have on our right hand side a Google Doc. This Google Doc contains a whole host of different type of data in it. We've got some table of contents at the top here. We've got a paragraph with a body text and a strange little drop down menu. We've got headers. We've got different sorts of formatting in our Google Doc. We've got ordered lists. We've got checkboxes, and also we've got these Google Doc Smart Chips as well here, along with tables, equations, and some code snippets. Our goal in this tutorial is to try and draw the text out of this Google Doc, or as much of it as we can within the Google Cloud or Google Docs ecosystem. Now, we have already covered this in 3 other tutorials using different approaches, but as you can see in this chart here that there are benefits and pitfalls to these approaches, and there is no one perfect way of drawing just the text from the document. As you can see here, we are currently working on this using the Google Docs Advanced Service API. And this Advanced Service API will allow us to grab the standard text. It'll allow us to grab 2 different types of smart chips. One will be this person chip, that's this one here, this where I've got my tester account. And the other smart text will be rich links. Rich links are those links that link to something within the Google Workspace ecosystem, like a Google Doc sheet or slide, or it might be a YouTube video. We'll also be able to grab text links. Should be able to grab emojis, tables of contents, and unlike with our second tutorial where we use the Document App API, we will be able to grab our code snippets as well. Now, one of the pitfalls of working with the Docs API Advanced Service is that it is indeed a REST API, and that means we need to iterate through an object with arrays in it that iterate into oblivion. So we have to handle for that. But having said that, this is a really good way for us to explore the Google Docs API, so let's dive in with a bit of code. Now, if you're playing along, and I encourage that you do, there is a copy of the starter sheet in the link in the description below, or in the written version of the tutorial, also in the link in the description below. Once you've made a copy of the document, go up to the menu bar, you'll grab extensions, which is over the right here, and then @script, and it should get you into this here. Okay, so we're going to spend a bit of time on understanding the REST API for this as an overall familiarization with the Google Doc API Advanced Service. So as you get started, head over to the Docs API page here. If you've been playing along with the other tutorials, you should also have completed the code.js file and the extra blob.js file here as alternative approaches to this. But head to the Docs API JS file. And what we got initially is this testing file here, which is basically just going to be a way for us to grab the docs ID. And we can do that if we're running the local one. So if we're opening it up from the Google Docs, so it's a bound app script project, then we can use the document app get active document get ID. Otherwise, we would have to go in and manually find the ID here and copy that in here as a string. And then this will run the get body text as string function, which is here. Cool. Okay, so let's head down to our get body text here. Let's get a bit of space in so we can move this up the screen a bit. And that'll allow us to have a bit of black space to put in ridiculous memes as we go. And we'll delete this and say retrieve. Okay, so our first task is retrieve the JSON of selected fields from the API. What we can do here is we can create a constant variable, so const document. Now you might want to encapsulate this in a try and catch statement. Let's just keep things a little bit simple. So what we're going to do is call the docs class here, and you can see that hasn't come up in our autocomplete. What we have to do is head over to services here. Now, if you're just starting on this starter sheet for the first time, you might not have the services up already. So you can go to services, add this here, and this is an advanced service for docs. It should be under Google Docs, and we're looking for version 1. There's only one version of the API. And its identifier will be docs. So we'll be able to start it off with docs, hit add. And you can see now that's successfully appeared here. So if we hit a period here, if we go docs, period, autocomplete's in place, we know the advanced service is up and running. Cool. So let's just tab into documents, and then we will use the get method here. So let's have a look at the docs here. So this is our get method. Get method is going to require a document ID for us and also a bunch of query parameters which are optional here. Now we have an option to also include suggestions in there to allow us to iterate through the comments and suggestions that appear in a document. We definitely don't want that, and if we leave it out, it means it won't be viewable. But we also want to make use of the tabs content here. So this seems to be the new approach, the way Google is handling their sheet. They want to make other Google Docs inside Google Docs instead of using the Google Drive to put docs in. Mixed feelings about this, but that's the way it is. But you can see here we've got a tab here, and then each version inside that is also nested tabs. So we can create another tab to create another Google Doc that's associated with this main thing. I suppose in a way it's similar to adding sheet tabs to the bottom of a sheet. Okay, now the documentation for Google's get method here is a little bit misleading. There are some extra arguments or queries that we can add to it, but we'll go into those in a moment. Let's just do the bare bone basics first though. Let's go ahead and say our document ID is our first parameter. So we're going to say doc ID. And then we're going to add in a bunch of query parameters, but all we want to add in is the include tabs content. We'll set that to true. Okay, let's go ahead and hit save. Actually, let's we could console log this, but I'll show you what happens when we console log here. Now you can see in our core document, there's not a lot that we put in this file here. It looks fairly small, right? Maybe a page, page and a half normally. But let's see what happens. So our document, and we'll hit save, and then we'll hit run. Now you might have to go through authorization process here. Obviously been working in this document before, so I don't need to. Okay, so here we go. It looks fairly small so far, but we can see there's an object inside this tab properties here. But what that means is that we know that we've got a bunch of tabs and we've got a document tab as well. Weirdly, when they've described their tab methods here, they've elected to call everything that runs down instead of using elements like we might in HTML, or indeed elements that we use using the document app service, the standard service attached with app script. They've decided to use tabs as elements and child elements here. What we expect to receive on our return is this type of object. Now we know we've got our tab properties in here. If we excluded these, the tab properties would be gone. Cool, so what we're going to do now is just to illustrate the size of the REST API that we've just retrieved, is that we're going to save this as a file and have a look at it. So drive app.get folder by ID, and then we can select an explicit folder. So I suggest you just create a folder for testing. I've got one here. I'm just going to grab the ID of that folder and whack that in there. And then what we're going to do is to create a JSON file with it. So we can say create file. Let's give it a name called docs API test.json. JSON. There we go. Much better. And then we want to include the document. And let's just give this a little run now. And that should produce the document here. Now, again, if we open this up, very hard to read. Lots of weird symbols and stuff going on here. No worries, just close that. We'll just download that quickly. And this is when you're setting up and developing using the API. It's a good idea to do things this way. You can also use the supporting tools in the document to burrow down or even look at this documentation here. But I like this approach. So I'm just going to download. Okay, so this is our formatted text over here. Let's have a little look now. So our goal is to try and burrow down until we can get the body text of what we're working on. And we can see we've got a bunch of tab properties here. Tab properties don't do much. It just indicates that we've got a title tab, index and tab ID. So we need to burrow down into first the document tabs, and then we need to find the document tab. Then of that document tab, we need to see, now inside that tab, there's going to be some other stuff, isn't there? So we're trying to look down, got lists here. So that's actually going to give you a list formatting, I think. Let's have a look down here, body. And inside the body, we're going to find content here. That's good, we're getting warmer. So let's just get that sorted out first. Hey, why don't we do that while we're here? So we don't really need that console log anymore. So let's go, okay, so let's go const body document dot tabs find. And then what we're going to do here is use a JavaScript find iterator, and it's going to find the tabs. So we've got body equals document, which is this, then tabs, which, let's go back up to the top here, tabs, this one here, and then we need to find the object that is called document tab here. So we could if t equals, let's do an arrow function here, t.hasOwnProperty, and we could go document tab. So if it does have its own property, then it's going to return all the stuff inside this object. Cool. And then we want to grab the document tab. So if it has own property document tab, we want document tag dot, and we want to grab the body because that's body down here. And then we also want to grab the content, right? So body dot content. Now we don't have to check if has own property on the body and content because we know that they will always be in this object. Okay, so let's give this a little test now. So console.log body, it's safe. And we're still going to generate a new file here. We don't need that quite yet. And we'll hit run. Cool. And let's have a quick squeeze up here. So it looks like we're getting inside our body here with section breaks, got paragraphs, paragraph elements here. That's cool. What else have we got? Probably have tables somewhere. So F table. There we go. Table of contents. Should also have tables here. So we have a look back over here. We'll see we've got tables. So we can basically see that a document is broken up into paragraphs and tables. And that's essentially it, except for perhaps a table of contents and section breaks. But we're not trying to draw the section breaks, are we? So we don't really need section breaks in our list. So if we go back to our file here, we can see we're currently extracting 52 kilobytes from the Google Advanced Service API, and that's massive. And indeed, if we have a look at the document here, we go to the last line, we've got 5,861 lines here. Now, this seems incredibly inefficient. It might seem like a few milliseconds to download, but we want to speed up the process as quickly as possible. What we can use to reduce this file size is something called a field mask. So let's go work with that now. Now we know that we can extract, let's have a look, we can extract the person chip. So we have a look here, we can see person chip here. And we also know that we can extract the link text. What's the keyword for that one? The link, I think it's called rich link. So we can extract the rich link. There it is. We can also extract a rich link data or smart chip data here. And we can see we've got the URI to the spreadsheet, MIME type, title, and all that funky stuff. All right, so we want to keep those as well. Okay, so one of the extra properties that we can include now into this get request here is some field masks. And field mask allows us to state just the data that we want to extract from the REST API JSON file. And we can do that by calling fields. And then we can create a string that simulates the paths that we need in the JSON file. So I'm going to use some backticks or template literals because later on I'm going to be adding some variables to this, or adding a variable. So perhaps we might just want the title of the Google Doc. Yeah, let's just do that as an example. Console.log, just so you know what I'm talking about here. Document. Okay. And we'll just hit run. We'll get an error down here because there'll be no body now. But if I just do this. Okay, but all that we're retrieving now from the API is just the title of the document, which is this one here. Okay, so that's essentially how we're using these fields. So we want the title, might be handy for us to reference later. And then we want to grab the tabs. So the next thing we iterate down into, like we did here, is the tabs. So we'll say tabs. And here we can see, so if we go to this, we can go F tabs. Up the top here. The next thing in here is going to be an array, and we can illustrate array in our field mask with some curved braces here. And inside that curved braces, what do we want to grab? We want to grab the document tab dot body. So document tab here, and remember body control. So we'll search for that again, Control F, body. Okay, so we know body is part of an object, not part of an array. So we can say dot body to get to the next item. And then we want to grab the content of that body. So it's another dot. So dot content. And then once we get to the content, we've got another array to deal with. So we've got some curved brackets here. And what do we want to grab from these arrays as we iterate through? Well, we discovered that what we're looking for is both paragraph elements and, well, we're looking for both paragraph tabs, I suppose, or elements, and we're also looking for tables. So within our content, we need to get the paragraph. And inside the paragraph, we can see that we want to grab the element here. So the elements of that paragraph. And you can see this opens up to another array of those elements. So again, curve braces, and then we want to get the text run of those elements. So text run dot, and from this text run, we want to grab the content. So the first one is a new line, but if we just highlight content for a moment, see if we can find this further down. Okay, so we've got content here, new line. Content here is an array. So we have to think about that. So we've got a table of contents here, so it's not that helpful. So another content here called header 2, so that's the same as our text here. Then another new line, another new line. We've got body here, and text to retrieve, drop down, little weird thing representing, hey, we can't get that drop down information, but it does indicate that there was a smart chip there. Okay, so we need to get that content. So let's go back here, text run dot content. Now we'll also probably want to grab any links as well. So we can do that with text run dot. And how do we grab a link? So we could research that just by saying link and see if we can find something here. So we can see inside a text run, we've got a text style and a link here. So let's look at that. So text run, text style. Just copy that, paste that over, right? And then dot link. And here's a good example of a link here. It's got our URL in it. And if we look at the content, it says Yagi-san at today. So that's going to be this one here. And we've probably got another link that's got the Google link, and another one again that's got the Docs Google link. So let's just stop it at link there for that iterator. And then we'll head back. Okay, so we've got our text run content and our text run link. Now we also got our person one inside that element. So we'll just double check. So we've got person here. And we can see that's part of the broader element here. So remember, we're inside this outer brackets of element here. So link, person, rich, link. Okay. Oh, and just be careful about spaces. If you put spaces in, you'll get some errors. This won't grab the tables at the moment, but it's a good place for us to do some testing. We'll open this back up again and we'll hit a run. Okay, incredibly helpful here. Request contains an invalid argument, probably because we've got a space here. There we go. So we can see that we're producing all the paragraphs here, but we're not getting any of the tables. Okay, so we probably didn't need to regenerate that file just yet. And of course, our person tags are going to be inside these paragraphs. Okay, not too bad. So if I put a comma here and handle for our tables now, comma also means also include. So this is now complete for a paragraph. Let's add in a table. So we could say, we just put table in here, just a simple one, just a quick test. Let's just comment this out for the time being, hit save, run. All right, we should see a table pop up. There it is here. So we know we've got table. If we look at our tables, so tables are broken down into a outer table here. Then inside that table, it will look at an array of rows. Inside each row, there is going to be a table cell. So each one, there'll be individual array of table cells in the array of table rows. And then inside those is going to be a paragraph or another table here. So as you can see, I've got a nest of tables within tables. So we have to handle for the crazy situation where someone is nesting tables within tables. We'll handle for that in a moment. So let's just go down to tables here. First table, we've got table rows, and we can see we've got table cells within this row. We should have another table row. Where is it? Another one there, table row. So instead now, what we might do, instead of continuing and writing our table and iterating it through it here, we need to make a nest of iterations that handle for other tables within tables, and then also other paragraphs within those tables. So what we will do is create a function that will generate this iterator of fields. Okay, so we'll say, let's be silly. Let's call it Matroska doll underscore tables and paras. Okay, there we go. Matroska dolls and nesting dolls. Okay, so, and then we'll put this function up the top here. So function, this one here. Okay, so now we need to make this nest. So we'll say text, or let text equal an empty string. And then we want to add in some end braces at the end. So we'll say let end braces equal blah, blah. Cool. And then let's do an iterator. So for let I equal 0. And then, 0, not O. And I is less than, we could put in a massive number here of iterators, which will build a really huge string, which will then send off to our Google Docs API, but then we're building a big string to send to Google Docs to get a smaller string back, which defeats the purpose. So we need to kind of get a sweet spot here, and also make a prediction that I don't suspect people are going to nest tables more than, say, 6 times. So if we make our I less than 6 nested tables here, I think we're in pretty safe grounds. And if they do, it's no worries. We'll just end up getting the full data for those nested tables. So I++. Cool. And now let's grab our text. So we'll go text plus equals on each iteration. And here we're going to say table dot, and remember we need to go narrow down to table rows. So let's head back to our information here. So table rows, table rows, and table rows lives inside an array here of table rows, curved brackets here, table rows, and we want to grab the table cells inside that array. And as you can see, inside each iteration of the table cells, there's going to be a content that we need to look into. So we say table cells dot content, and that content is also an array, so curved braces again. And here we want to do 2 things. We want to grab 2 things. The first one is we want to typically grab the paragraph, just like we did down here. So what we'll actually do is go yoink and hit Control-C to copy. And inside the content here, we're going to paste this here. Then we'll put a comma in. And then let's just close that and just put in our end braces here. So end braces plus equals this. All right, because we'll be adding to this as we go. Because what we'll do now is then here, we'll add in another table. We'll be adding this one on the next iteration to the end of this, and we don't want to add more braces in, right? And then we'll be doing that 6 times of basically copying this, appending this to here, and then when we're done, we'll be putting those braces all back together. So we'll be appending a big list of braces onto the end. Okay, so that's our iterator sorted out, and then when we're all done, we want to say text plus equals table, table, just in case there's an extra table on there. They've gone and gone down 7 tables deep. We won't get an error that way. We'll say end braces, and let's just give that a little console log. text. Save. Okay. So hit save. Let's see if we've made any mistakes. There's no spaces in here. I think it looks okay. We'll hit return. Okay, and we can see we've got, this is our result here that we've returned from this up top. So it's this minus this initial request here. We're getting an error. So let's just have a quick review. That's because we didn't return the text. Okay. Let's give that a spin. All right, looking good so far. We've got tables in here. We need to look at this table here first. Let's create another file. And we'll delete these out so we don't get... Oh, we'll keep them here actually. So remember this current one is 52 when we first started. Let's create this next file. So run. All right, let's have a look. So now we're down to 10 kilobytes. That's much more reasonable. All right, let's download that bad boy. Okay, so we can see now, compared to our old one, where it had all this clutter of padding top, padding bottom and whatnot, which we don't need because we just want the text. We have some reasonable data that we can extract and look through. Cool. Let's head down till we get to table row. Awesome, looking pretty good there. It should get a bit crazy where we can start seeing it start nesting that table row. And it's going to nest further down, but it's just getting the basic context again, so that's great. Okay, everything's working as we expected. Cool. So now we've got a smaller file. Let's actually extract the data that we need. And let's just comment that one out for now. All right, so we'll start off by saying let text equal blank. And we're just going to fill out this string, right? And here, now keep in mind, we're going to get to the body of the text, which will start here. We want to iterate through each of the, actually it's going to be past the body, past the content. So it's going to be to paragraph. So after each paragraph or table of contents, we want to grab our data. So let's just, and we'll use we'll create our own callback function to do that. So we'll say body for each, we've got this array here of paragraphs and tables. So let's say for each tab, actually calling tab, not elements, we want to extract the paragraph or tab data. So we're going to create a function called paragraph or tab, and that's going to be our tab data. Okay, so each tab is going to be from here to here and so on. Nice, so let's just go above here and we'll create a method for this. It's callback method function, paragraph or tab. That's going to take a tab as an argument, and here we go. So it's callback function used to iterate over the body object and extract text from text run, person, rich link, and also the tables, I guess. And that's from the tables and the paragraph elements or tabs. Okay. So here we could use a switch statement, or we could use a couple of if statements. We've actually got two primary if statements we've got to handle for first, and that's going to be our if it's a paragraph or if it's a table. So let's just go if tab.paragraph. So if we've got tab.paragraph there, then we need to extract our data. Else, if tab.table, we want to call paragraph or tab again and get some information, but we'll have to burrow down through table and cells. So perhaps we'll do that one first. Seems like the easiest one to handle for. Let's just do some handy logging as well. So console.log, which we'll delete out on production. I'll just say para. For here, else if console.log table, and just make sure that's working for now. Now, if we run, right, cool. So we've got that first outer table, but we're not using the callback. So it's just going to do this initial run that's most closely connected to the body content. All right. But if we're in the table, we're going to do some cool stuff. So say const table rows is going to equal tab.table dot table rows, this one here, and then we can say console log table rows. Have a quick look. Okay, so then we've got our table cells to handle for now. So let's do that. So table rows, dot, and remember where this is now, have a look, execution log. Where are we? Table rows. Yeah. Okay, so this table rows is an array that we have to iterate over for each row. So this is one row here. Oh, this is one row here. And this is a second row here. So table rows for each row, array function, console log dot. Okay, so we'll see the cells as we log the cells. So we can say const, actually let's just put this up here. So const table cells is equal to row dot table cells, that one there, and we can just replace that with that. There we go. Give that a little run, cross check. And we can see now we've got, for each of the rows, we've got some content on each of the rows here. That's pretty funky. So we know what to do next. So table cells dot for each cell, little arrow function again. And what do we want to do? Well, we want to grab the cell content, don't we? So we will say console.log, just so we can see. Say cell here, cell, ooh, cell. Okay, have a quick look at that now. All right, so now we've got our cell. We can see in the cells, we've got either paragraphs or tables. So have a think about what we need to do next. Okay, all right, let's see if you've got it. So what we need to do next is go cell.content dot for each. Okay, we'll say T. So each tab, I suppose it's called, or element. We are going to call the paragraph or tab, setting in the T again, and then it'll iterate all the way up to here and go, okay, is this T now, is this inner one either a paragraph or is it a table? If it's a table, it'll do the whole process again and then check until it burrows down and finds the paragraph, which we need to handle for now. So let's have a quick run of that. Should see some burrow action now. All right, let's have a look up here. Ah, excellent. Look, you can see our table, a table is going row, cell, row. We burrowed down, we found a paragraph. Excellent. We found another paragraph. We found another paragraph. Good, everything's working. Cool, back up to paragraphs. Ah, incidentally too, you probably find these two blanks. One of these blanks is going to be table of content. You can actually draw the table of contents text from that here. I just haven't included it in this tutorial. Okay, so once we're in a paragraph, we can see here in our example, we need to get to the element. And then from that element, we need to iterate through the text runs. Okay, so let's do that now. We will say const para else is equal to tab dot paragraph dot elements noise, and may as well just move this console log down and add some stuff to it. Para else, oh, didn't put a comma in here, silly us. Okay, so we ran that now, so we can see in our paragraph we've got these paragraph elements, and each one contains a text run with different stuff in it. Cool, so more often than not our content's going to be a string, which is cool. So now let's just go para else dot for each element, L, shorthand, is equal to a little arrow function, cheeky little arrow function. And now we're going to do some more if statements here. So we'll say if the element, or L, dot has, and we'll handle for our two smart chip conditions here. So has own property, and our first one is going to be person. So if we looked in here, Control F, person, Okay, so that's going to be in an element here, the array. We've got a type person here, so we want that. If the element has own property person, then what do we want to get? We probably want to get their name here and their email. And we can see that's in the person properties here. All right, so let's do that. So let's say const props equals L dot person dot person. So element dot person properties. And then we want the const name equals props dot name const email equals props dot email. And let's just put this in markdown in our string so it makes it easy for us to find. So we can say const md link is equal to, and markdown starts off with some, we'll do backticks. So template literals, markdown starts off with square braces, the link goes inside curved braces, and then we want our literal being the name. Then we add mail to, colon, and that's going to be email. Cool. We could log that, I guess. Dot person chip is going to be markdown link. But more importantly, we need to add it to our text, don't we? So we can say text plus equals md link. Hit save. And you know, let's go all the way down the bottom here and just console.log.text, because we're starting to see the first parts of our text come to life. And we'll just put a return in there if you want to use this from another function. So return text. There we go. Funky, cold, Medina. All right, let's hit save and we'll hit run and we should see that result pop up. Good, so the only part of our string that we have at the moment is this tester account, mail2, which is excellent. We've only got that in here as an email account in a smart chip, which is great. But we should also see it somewhere up here as well. Let's go Control F, tester. And there it is here. So there's that person chip that we look for as well. Nice. All right, so that's our first if statement for our first smart chip. Our next smart chip is going to be rich link. So we can say else if link element. Now see if you can complete this as own property, rich link. All right, let's just find that here. There it is there. So we know what we need to draw down into. So from this rich link element, we need to go to rich link properties, and then we've got title, URL, min-me type, which are probably all important. You can get rid of what you don't want, but we will go again. Const props equals L dot rich link dot rich link properties. Const, what is it? Title equals props dot title. Okay, so remember with our rich link properties, we'll just head over here. This is going to be our rich link property here. So it's a link to a Google Workspace type file or a YouTube video. Okay, title, then const URI is equal to props.uri const me type is equal to props.me type, and then markdown, probably do a markdown similar, so let's just copy this and make some changes. There we go. So it's going to be title now. We don't need the mail to. The URI is going to be the spot here, and then maybe at the end, let's just say me type equals $ me type, good O, console log dot log text empty link, so we can see that pop up, but more importantly, text plus equals markdown link. Let's save, give it a spin. All right, so now we've got our tester account here, and here we've also got this add conditional formatting tab here, which is great, that goes in here, and along with the MIME type here. And if we go back to the document, we can see we've got the tester account. It didn't capture the date because there's no date link here, and it didn't capture this variable chip here, nor this date, but it did capture this, so they're next to each other. I suppose for clarity, we could put a space in at the end. That might be neat. Run again, see what happens. Yeah, that looks a bit more clear. We've got a space between those two. Good. All right. Nice. So now our last condition, so else if is the most important one, is to grab the text. So else if L, so element dot as own property. We want to look for this text run stuff here. We can see here as own property text run. Then we could say const text run, I guess, to make things a bit neater for our working, which is going to be our dot text run. Save. We could probably log that, I guess, if we wanted to. Let's not worry about that. But all we really want to do is return the text. So we could just say at this stage, we could go content. So const content equals text run dot, and where do we get our content from? So it's text run, and then it goes down to content here. So content. Then we could say text plus equals content and hit save. And then we could run to see what happens there. Text. That's not going to work at all. Hit save. Give that another spin. Okay, so we've got the bulk of our text content here, but we do have a couple of links here that we want to chuck in too, eh? So let's just handle for that too. So we could say, let's go back to the object, JSON object, and look for some links to search for to do our research. So link, not really a rich link. Put a double quotation marks here. There we go. Narrowed it down for us. Good. So we've got text run content. So we're going to put that with this. And then we've got a link here under text style link. Okay, got it. So let's go const link. It's equal to text run. So we'll get inside text run. Then we need to go text style. Now we could do a bunch of has own properties. So we've got text style, then we've got link, then we've got something else. But we can do, instead of has own property here, we can do something else. So if text style is available, so it's just going to say if it isn't, so we put the question mark at the end here. So if the text style is available, continue on iterating down this object. And then we say, if there is a link in text style, continue on. Let's grab the URL, right? And this is called optional chaining. Cool. So if there isn't, it's going to return undefined. So now that we've got our content and everything here, let's create another if statement. We'll say if link does not equal undefined. So they couldn't find either the text style or the link in here. Then, so if it isn't undefined, then it's found the link in the URL at the end. So then we can go text plus equals, and we can put in a bit of markdown magic again. Square braces, $sign. We'll put in our content of the link, followed by curved braces, and that's going to be the link. Oops, $sign, squiggly braces, link. Otherwise, we want to put this in, right? So put that in here, and then control right. I think we've got everything. Let's hit run. Good-o. All right, so here we've added in our URLs this time for our links, and they're coming in quite nicely. Excellent, some more text here. Then there's the docs URL, so you can see that's these ones here. So that came up nicely. We've got all our nested cell values here. We've got some text after the tables, but we can see that this equation doesn't show. So there are some equation information, but it's not going to reveal all the equation style types here, these little unusual P's and the F for function and whatnot. And then we've got also here we can see our scripts here. So that's come into play. It hasn't defined what the script is as JavaScript, but that's okay. We've got these little key indicators here with these little, I think there's like square question marks. So that might be a good thing if you're iterating over the text to say, okay, well, this might be a script break here. So we've got a reasonable amount of the text. All right, so we've got our standard text here. We've got our chips, text links, emojis. Didn't grab a table of contents, but we've got our code snippets. But as we discussed earlier, you can grab your table of contents as you need. Okay, so using the Documents App API Advanced Service is another approach to extracting text data from your Google Doc. This might be an approach even more suited for those people working outside of the Google Workspace ecosystem and app scripts. Perhaps you're working in Node, Golang, or another language, and you need to use the Document App API. Also keep in mind there's other OCR options for you to extract text that might be third party outside of the Google ecosystem if you're doing that too, if you just want to get what's displayed there. But this approach will allow you to grab links and person text and rich text. I hope to see that perhaps date will be implemented in future into the Document App API service. Usually it's the other way around, where Docs API gets all the good stuff first, followed by the Document App. Weirdly, fortunately perhaps, it's the other way around in this case. And hopefully in future, some more of the viewed text will appear here for the other chip types as well. So that's it. Now, if you've enjoyed this tutorial, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more tutorials like this, subscribe. Until next time.